Okay, so we're kind of getting into the very ending of Heroes Reborn. Like, we still have a few more storylines to cover in Iron Man, Fantastic Four, and Captain America, but we're getting close to the end of Heroes Reborn and watching these heroes go back into the main Marvel universe. Now, in today's video, we're going to sit down and cover two more issues of Iron Man and the Heroes Reborn reality, but also kind of wrapping up a storyline from our previous video. And so with that being said, we're covering issues number 10 and also issue number 11. And so this kind of leads into the opening pages of this storyline where we do pick up with Terex the Terrible. Now, here's the thing, he's a herald of Galactus, but when it comes to Terex the Terrible, he's currently chained down by these barbarian creatures. But here's the thing, because he hears his master calling out to him. And matter of fact, we kind of saw this in the Fantastic Four videos where it's Galactus who had decided that it's time for him to go ahead and head over to Earth. And so with Galactus doing that, he's now calling back all his heralds. So the Silver Surfer and also Terex the Terrible. And so now Terex leaves to get ready for the next big thing coming to Earth. And of course, that would be Galactus. Now, we do have to switch over to Tony and also Rebel. Now, remember, when it comes to Rebel, he was a college friend of Tony. Matter of fact, Tony, Dr. Doom, Reed Richards, Hank Pym, Bruce Banner, and also Rebel, they were all college friends back in the day. Now, in the first issue of this series, we saw that Rebel died. Like, he literally got blown up while testing out the brand new Iron Man suit, the prototype actually. Now, with that being said, out of nowhere, he came back to life. But we learned that he's more machine now than man. And the question was, who brought him back to life? Now, we already know who it was. It was Hydra. And so, of course, with him now being defeated by Tony, is him saying like, okay, Tony, you know what? I'm back on your side right now. The thing is, I'm going to die very soon. Before I die, though, I kind of want to go out as a hero. And so currently, you have Rebel taking Tony over to the base that belongs to Hydra. Now, the thing is, while you do have our heroes heading over to the Hydra base, we do learn here the Hydra base is actually over in Russia. And so as soon as our heroes had entered Russia's airspace, they sent out their two Iron Soldiers, of course being the Crimson Dynamo and the Titanium Man. Now, for our two heroes, this is an easy job for them because their armor suits are a tad bit more advanced, but also because Tony knows how to take them down very quickly. So yes, we do get some classic Iron Man villains here, but they're gone in a matter of like a few seconds. Now, this kind of leads into the birth of She-Hulk in this reality. Now, for me personally, I kind of feel like it's a tad bit rushed. And let me explain, because when it came to She-Hulk in our last video, she was just a regular person. Jennifer was a lawyer. Now, you have Bruce go out of his way to grab her, and the reason why, because he needed her help. And so he grabbed her and took her over to a safe place. Now, we kind of find out it's him, Doc Samson, and also, well, Jennifer. Now remember, in our last video, when it came to Doc Samson, he was given a gamma radiation injection from Jasper Sitwell. Now, when it comes to Jasper Sitwell, he was Tony Stark's government liaison. And so when it came to Jasper, he was trying to find Bruce because he found out that Bruce was the Hulk. The problem was that he knew that Samson knew where Bruce was at. But Samson, being a doctor, said, I'm not going to tell you where my patient is at. And so you had Jasper give Doc Samson that injection. And of course, it turned him into the Abomination in this reality. Here comes the problem. That injection gave him the gamma virus. So Doc Samson is slowly dying, but the same thing goes for Bruce Banner as well. And so to save both their lives, they have to do a blood transfusion. And the reason why, because they believe that each of their blood should cancel out the virus in each of their bodies. The problem is that you have Bruce turn into the Hulk mid-process. And so for Jennifer, she steps in where Bruce left off at to hopefully save Doc Samson's life. And so that gives us the birth of She-Hulk. And so this kind of leads into the ending of this chapter, because you do have Tony Stark and also Rebel being able to get over to Madam Hydra. Now, when they do make her somewhat surrender here, she does not give up that easily. And the reason why, because, well, the Mandarin appears. Now, when he does appear, he kills her off just like that. And this leads into the big battle between the Mandarin and also Tony Stark, but also like it leads into the death of Tony. Because for Tony, while he's battling against the Mandarin, Tony's using way too much energy. And so because of that, you have this huge explosion happen. And we're kind of left to believe that Tony is quote unquote dead, but also we learn here the Mandarin is a robot. And that right there is pretty huge because, like, wait a second, the Mandarin was never real. But we kind of find out who was the person in charge of everything. The Mandarin, Madam Hydra, and also the organization of Hydra. It was Dr. Doom. Because of Dr. Doom, what he wanted to do was take over Tony Stark's company. And so as we get into the next chapter, we kind of find out two things here. The first is that when it came to Dr. Doom, we had learned a while ago that when he was supposedly friends with everybody else, he told Rebel and Tony about the idea of Russia already having their own Iron Man suit, of course being the Titanium Man armor suit. We kind of find out he was the guy who gave Russia the blueprint to that outfit, that armor suit. But it's also him kind of bragging about the fact that what he did actually worked. Now his goal is to go after the other members of the round table. So Bruce Banner, Reed Richards, Hank Pym. Now with Tony off the board and, well, technically Rebel's already dead, he believes he's doing a great job. Here's the catch though. We come to find out that Tony's not dead. Apparently him and Rebel have switched armor suit. So in reality, Rebel is dead, but Tony is alive. And so you do have Tony go ahead and change into his Iron Man armor suit. With him doing that, he does surprise attack Dr. Doom. Now, when he does surprise attack Dr. Doom, Doom cannot believe that technically he had failed for that trick, but for Dr. Doom, he still believes that he has the advantage here. The problem is that while you have the two characters fight against one another, it had basically started Dr. Doom's time machine. And so this right here is a callback to an earlier storyline where you had Tony and also Dr. Doom go back in time. Except this time, it will be Tony and Dr. Doom going to different points in time in the main Marvel universe and begin to have our heroes kind of wondering, like, is their reality even real? And you'll see what I mean as we go through the next few sections. And the first point in time they go to is when they had Onslaught attacking New York. Now for Dr. Doom and Tony, for this reality, there was no Onslaught, but in the main Marvel universe, there was one. And so for Tony and also, well, for Dr. Doom, they're kind of wondering, like, wait a second, who is this guy? Did this already happen in the past? What in the world is going on right now? Or are they in an alternate timeline? And so for Dr. Doom and Tony Stark, this brings up a lot of questions. And this continues on for many more sections. They continue to go back in time to the point where they pick up the classic days of the Avengers. Now for Tony Stark, he never wore the Mark I armor suit in this reality. And so for Tony and also Dr. Doom, they're kind of wondering, like, wait a second, what in the world is going on here? Because they see a different Hulk. They see a different Thor. They see a different Iron Man. Now you do have our heroes continue to travel through time. The next point in time is when you had Dr. Doom in the main Marvel universe trick Thing to time travel back in time to become Blackbeard in the age of the pirates. And so for our Dr. Doom and our Tony Stark in the Heroes Reborn reality, when they arrived at that point in time, they're very confused about the fact that why Ben Grimm's right now being Blackbeard at his point in time. Now for Ben Grimm, he does recognize Iron Man, he does recognize Dr. Doom, but it's not his Dr. Doom. It's not his Iron Man. Now, technically it is, but at this point in time, these two characters belong to the Heroes Reborn reality. Now, the next point in time is when you have our two characters arrive in the hourglass that belongs to Merlin. Now, this is a callback again to another classic Marvel storyline that involved Doctor Doom and Tony Stark meeting Merlin in the past. And so for Merlin, he remembers Doctor Doom and Iron Man, but of course in a different type of way. But he tells him, like, the key is time. The problem is that they're once again pulled back into the time stream. And this time for our heroes, they're now meeting Roma Tut. And of course, he knows Doctor Doom. And Doctor Doom kind of knows him as well. So we're kind of getting the idea that these heroes in the Heroes Reborn reality are beginning to remember that they're from a different reality, the main Marvel Universe reality. And their last stop on their time travel adventures is where they pick up with a character known as Airwalker. Now, when it comes to Airwalker, he was a herald for Galactus. What he did was he put a device into the Earth to allow Galactus the ability to, well, consume the Earth down the road. And so for Doctor Doom, he realized what's going to come very soon. Because when they do get back over to the present day, you have Dr. Doom tell Tony that he can leave. And it's kind of like, why in the world did he give up for? Because Dr. Doom now realized that the world is most likely going to end very soon. And so this kind of leads into the ending because you have Reed and Tony meet up at the funeral for Rebel. When they do meet up, it's Tony and Reed both agreeing on the fact that technically, when it comes to their reality, it's connected to the main Marvel universe. But the thing is, they don't know how. We know how, but they don't know how. But it's also Reed and Tony kind of agreeing on the fact that when it came to Rebel, he did not belong. It was kind of like he was just created in this reality to help connect all the different characters. Hank Pym, Doctor Doom, Reed Richards, Bruce Banner, and of course Tony Stark as well. And they also kind of feel like there has to be some kind of weird connection between all of them besides Rebel. The idea they all got powers in different types of ways. Bruce Banner, the Hulk, Victor, Doctor Doom, Hank Pym, Ant-Man, Iron Man, and also Reed being Mr. Fantastic. Now you do have the Watcher appear. And when the Watcher does appear, he says, listen, Galactus is coming. The Devourer of Worlds approaches. It's a terrible hunger he brings. Now you do have Reed and Tony ask the Watcher, will he help out? He says flat out no, but I am going to watch because this leads into Heroes Reunite. And that is when you do have Tony and also, well, Iron Man be confronted by She-Hulk, Doc Samson, and also the Hulk, better known as the Hulk Busters. And this leads into the next crossover, better known as Heroes Reunited. And this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.